Welcome to the best riddles ever. We've tested these out on high school teachers, and only 2% answered all of them correctly. Do you think you're cleverer than a teacher? Well, let's try your luck at these 5 amazing riddles. Oh, I nearly forgot. If you like them, please drop a comment, like, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on 3 weekly videos for you to train your brain. Without further ado, a father's daughter. A poor man living with his daughter lost his job and can't afford to pay his rent. His evil landlord threatens to evict them unless the daughter marries him. The daughter and her dad loved their house very much and really didn't want to be evicted, and she really didn't want to marry the landlord. The daughter was a risk taker, so suggests the following proposition. The landlord is allowed to put 2 marbles in a bag, 1 white and 1 black, but it has to be in front of an audience. She will pick only 1 stone out of the bag. If she picks the white stone, then the landlord will have to forgive their debt and let them stay in the house. If she picks the black stone, then the landlord receives his wish and gets to marry the daughter, and they will be evicted. The landlord doesn't think twice about it and agrees. In front of an audience, the landlord picked up 2 stones, 1 white and 1 black, but he was sneaky, and the daughter saw him slyly swap out the white stone for another black stone. The daughter sees the 2 black stones go into the bag and thinks about revealing his deception to the crowd, but decides not to. Why? Well, that would embarrass him, and they'll lose their home due to his anger. What can the daughter do that will allow the landlord to save face whilst ensuring that both she and her father can stay in their house? Your 15 seconds starts now. Answer. The daughter picks 1 stone out, clenches her hand over the stone, and shouts to the crowd, "This is the stone I've chosen." She then throws the stone and goes to the landlord. "Show the audience the remaining stone in the bag. If it's black, then that means I threw away the white one." The landlord, embarrassed and wanting to save face in front of the audience, agreed that a black stone was still remaining in the bag. Have you ever had a problem with your landlord? Makes me want to pull my hair out. Old war story. This one is a famous one and will really test your history skills. The year was 1956, and Frank, James, Joshua, and Daniel were exchanging some old war stories. James exclaimed how his grandfather, known as Captain Walker, led a battalion against the enemy opposition. Through amazing strategy and commandership, they defeated the enemy and captured the valuable territory. James said that his grandfather's heroics and leadership was immediately recognized by the royal family, where he flew back to collect a sword with the inscription, "To Captain Walker, for bravery, leadership, and heroics, World War I, from the royal family." Daniel and Frank looked at each other as they knew everything about the wars, and then said to James, "Come on, James, you don't really expect us to believe that rubbish, do you?" How did Daniel and Frank know that James' story was a lie? Reckon you can work this one out. Give it a try. Answer: it wasn't called World War I until later on. It was called the Great War at first because they did not know during that war and immediately afterward that there would be a Second World War or World War II. Horse race. Two knights ride their horses to the town farmer to ask for his daughter's hand in marriage. The farmer, eager for his daughter to marry the best knight, proposed a very unique race to the knights, one which they had never taken part in before. The farmer said, "You will race your horses down the road, which goes from here to the center of town." The knights, looking at each other, thinking, "Oh, this will be fun." But the farmer continued, "And the knights whose horse passes through the city hall's gates last will get to marry my daughter." The knights looked back at each other completely confused and with no idea how to proceed. So they went to the local tavern to have a brainstorm and eventually came up with a grand plan to abide by the farmer's rules. An hour later, one of the knights is boasting about how he has won the daughter's hand in marriage. This one's a hard one, right? It took me a while, so let's see if you can get it. Remember, you can always pause the video for more time. Answer: what was the idea the knights had? Each knight rides the other's horse. They race to the city hall as they normally would. The farmer said the knight whose horse crosses last would win, so the man who wants to win the race would have his horse finish last. Two hairdressers. Have you ever let your hair spiral out of control? I know mine sure did during lockdown. Here's a dilemma I faced. Would you be able to solve it? A woman was in a tiny town for the day for her best friend's wedding. She wanted to look the part and knew she needed a haircut. So, off she went walking down the street, and before long, she found the only two hairdressers in the tiny town. When looking at their shops, she saw that the first hairdresser had amazing hair that looked so luscious and bountiful, she found it hard to stop staring. The second hairdresser had hair that looked dull and full of split ends, and it looked like it needed some TLC. The woman had a tough choice. Would she go for the first hairdresser with her amazing hair, or the second hairdresser whose hair was really bad? She stood there, remembering to apply a bit of logical deductions from the riddles she's been learning from. In the end, the woman chose to go to the hairdresser with worse hair. What did she deduce about the two hairdressers? Answer: hairdressers rarely try to cut their own hair. Have you ever tried? It's really hard. As it was a tiny town and there were only two hairdressers in town, that means that they must cut each other's hair. The one with amazing luscious hair had their hair cut by the hairdresser who had hair which needed some TLC. Football crossing. Do you know these amazing footballers? Ronaldo, Neymar, and Messi. Well, they have a dilemma. Can you help them? As bitter rivals, they hate each other, but they've all been called to attend a media day at the same location. Their agents always accompany them to any media event, as Ronaldo, Messi, and Neymar need everything perfect. After finishing their media days, they all decide to enjoy the sunny weather and walk back together to their hotel with their agents. They stumble across a riverbank where there is a small rowboat which is only big enough to carry two of them across at the same time. And the agents absolutely do not trust the other footballers' agents, especially if they're not present at the time, just in case they try to poach each other's star player. Hint: Ronaldo's agent is okay if Neymar and Messi are left alone on the boat or on the riverbanks. But if Messi's agent was also with them, then that is definitely not okay. So, how do they all get across the river without any of the agents losing a footballer? Have you been stuck at home with your family? This is an amazing problem for kids and adults alike. It'll have your brain firing on all cylinders. Here's a hint. There's loads of ways to answer this riddle, but the quickest way is in 9 steps. Stick around, cause I'll let you know in 15 seconds. This one is a long one, but it's so worth it. It's a very famous riddle adapter for all of you. Answer: Crossing 1, Ronaldo and Ronaldo's agent row to the far side of the river. Crossing 2, Ronaldo's agent gets off and Ronaldo rows back to the near side of the river where Neymar and Messi and their agents are waiting. Crossing 3, Neymar's agent and Messi's agent now row to the far side of the river. Crossing 4, Messi's agent gets off and Neymar's agent rows back to the near side. Crossing 5, Neymar's agents switch places with Ronaldo and Messi, who row to the far side of the river. Crossing 6, Messi gets off and Ronaldo rows back to the near side again. Crossing 7, Ronaldo now switches place with Neymar and his agent, who row back to the far side. Crossing 8, Ronaldo's agent gets back in the boat and rows back to the near side. Crossing 9, Ronaldo and his agent now row to the far side, and voila! They've all made it across without signing a new contract with another agent. And that's the end of this video, everyone. How did you find these amazingly hard 5 riddles? Remember that only 2% of the high school teachers we asked could solve all 5 of them. If you're looking for more amazing riddles, then hit the subscribe button and notification bell right now. And if you think you've got a harder riddle that'll bust the minds of all our viewers, then we'd love to include it in our next video. Leave it in the comments section and we'll get back to you.